All right, welcome everybody. It's the Manchild here. Paul off for this little segment here, but it's time to do our brunch with Bud right here at MC Show Digital or the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. The broadcast brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where there's always love at first slice, and we will hear more about Tony and the lovely Cam's in just a little bit. Bud Poliquin, how are you? Good to be talking with you again.
I'm just looking at one thing here, but go ahead. I'm fine to answer your question.
What are you looking at? You're looking up some research before we even got started. You're researching for the interview. Are you expecting some difficult, penetrating questions from me, I suppose?
Well, I don't know how
well researched.
I don't know how penetrating, but I have to have some preparation. But anyway, I'm here and I'm ready to go.
All right, yes, you're ready to go. All right, let's start with your favorite thing to talk about in the whole wide world, and that's Major League Baseball. And we just passed the Major League Baseball trade deadline, and the New York teams were very, very active. There were some other teams that were active as well. I mean, give me your take on all the activity at the trade deadline, and is there a team or two where you say, wow, this team put itself in a much better position maybe to contend for a World Series title this year?
Well, I'm going to join the chorus on this one. I think the Seattle Mariners just might now be the best team in baseball.
Wow.
You do not want to play them. No one's going to want to play them in a short series. And I know that good pitching beats good hitting. I understand that. And they have both. They have good pitching and good hitting. And they have one of the deepest, toughest, hardest lineups to go through 2 and 3 and 4 times in a game. As anybody in baseball. So I think the additions of Naylor and Suarez to go with, Raleigh and Rodriguez and Polanco and Randy Arozarena. They got a lot of hitters. They got a lot of pitching. So I think Seattle did a great job, and I'm certainly not alone in thinking that way.
How about the New York teams? You liking what my Mets did to shore up the bullpen? Did a lot of work on that. That's what David Stern says he was going to do. They picked up a couple of pretty good arms.
Well, the thing with the Mets that's amazing is that they're co-division winners at this point with Philly. They've been side by side like for a whole season.
Yeah.
And should that hold up? Again, I don't have it at the top of my head. Have we seen this before? But they've been almost like co-leaders for a couple of months now. And there's no reason to think it won't stay that way for the next few months. So I think that's quite amazing. So anything the Mets do, anything the Phillies do that gives them a little bit of an edge over the other, that might be what gives them the edge over the other. So, yeah, the Mets are good. The Phillies are good. And as far as the Yankees.
Yeah, I was going to say, Yankees, I mean, they're kind of struggling at the moment, but they did try to make some moves here to try and light a little fire under this team.
Interesting, though, that they went through the weekend and they lost 3 in a row to Miami while Boston was winning 3 in a row against Houston. And so coming out of the weekend after those 2 sweeps, there a significant change between what the Yankees are and what the Red Sox are. And, right now, I think the Red Sox, I think they've had the best record in baseball since July 1 or June something or other. The Red Sox are really strong. And watching them over the weekend against Houston, I'm not saying they toyed with Houston because one of the games went 10 innings, 2-1. But clearly, the Red Sox are better than the Mariners, in my mind, watching what I watched. And the Red Sox suddenly are not to be trifled with. And the Yankees, not that they're in trouble because, they have the wild card berth. But right now, the Yankees are a third-place team behind Toronto and Boston. So the 7 players they brought in had better do something, and they got to get Judge back in the lineup. So the Mets and the Yankees, the Mets are very impressive, and the Yankees have got some issues.
Well, someone else that has some issues is the commissioner of baseball because Bryce Harper last week apparently told the commissioner to get the bleep out of the Phillies clubhouse. Manfred, I guess, has been, talking with some teams behind the scenes about the current financial situation in baseball, which includes the potential for there to be a salary cap, something that Harper and I guess the Players Union are vehemently against. And so this led to, I guess, some kind of war of words. I think, Kennesaw Mountain Landis is probably rolling over in his grave right now, having a player drop an expletive on a commissioner while in a clubhouse. Bud, what do you make of all that?
Well, first of all, I remind people that Manfred is a Lemoyne Dolphin. He went to Lemoyne for a while.
Yes,
so that's interesting. See, the baseball people, including Bryce Harper, have no clue as to what a real union is. That's not a union; it's a players' association. I know that, but it's rhetorically called a union. The top 10% of the players in the in Major League Baseball, the top 10% are making 72% of the money. That's absurd. On the face,
and Harper would be in that percentage.
Harper would be in that. So anybody who has at least a passing notion, interest, understanding of business and of companies, I think would understand that is not a business model that one should embrace from a business point of view. Right. From the overall, from the owners to the players to the front offices, everybody should understand that it's not healthy, including the players in the other 90 percentile. It's not healthy that 10% makes 72% of the money. So it's not a union, because the union a union tries to make everybody as equal as possible, and they're looking out for making sure that the lower end person in the union, man or woman, is treated fairly. Here, the Bryce Harpers of the world are seemingly, keyword, only interested in that upper echelon group, because he says, get the F out of here with any kind of a salary cap, even though he knows, and Manfred knows, that baseball is the only league in the United States Big Four of football, baseball, basketball, and hockey that does not have a salary cap. And so I can understand the selfishness that must be driving Harper, because I got mine and I want more. And I can understand Manfred saying, I don't care about you, Harper, as an individual. I care about the game, the business, the product. And it doesn't seem you're doing so. So, again, we've talked last week on how I have little interest in defending the rights of players to make as much money as they make. Make it. I don't care, but I don't know that I have to take a side on the player side, saying all these poor players, they've got a leg to stand on, and I understand their position, because I don't understand how Bryce Harper should be anything but grateful for his place in the league, in the hierarchy. And instead, he seems to be thinking, if you think you're touching my opportunity to make even more, or my fellow stars' opportunity to make even more, you're crazy. So if I have to take a side here, I would take Manfred's side. Although I'm not a big Manfred guy, because I think he's capitulated in too many ways to too many people. And he's not really my idea of a great commissioner. So I don't think I'm wishy-washy, but I really see both sides of it, and I really don't like either side of it. I can't hear you right now.
You're right. I had my mic muted there. Today's broadcast, thank you, Bud, is brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it is always love at first slice. Let's just take 30 seconds and learn a little bit more about our friends from Cam's.
When you think of Cam's Pizzeria, think about two of your favorites, their zesty buffalo chicken wing pizza or their tasty chicken bacon ranch. Over 16 specialty pizzas made fresh daily with the best ingredients. Indulge in their homemade calzones, subs, wraps, salads, and their famous cannolis for dessert. They're all made with love just for you. Order online for 10% off at camspizza.com. Locations in Camillus and Oswego. Cam's Pizzeria. It's love at first slice.
Well, we're back. It is Brunch with Bud, brought to you again by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it's always love at first slice. Bud, apologize for that mic thing. Mookie, my dog, who usually just lays alongside me and loves to be here when I'm in the home studio, apparently just wanted to get out of the room. So I muted my mic to try and talk him off the ledge, And luckily that commercial break timed very well. He's out. He's now with his mom, so he'll be fine the rest of the way. We should have peace and quiet. Okay. Anyway, so decorum in Major League locker rooms between commissioners and players. Any there in terms of having some level of decorum? It seems like in society, Bud, we're just willing to say anything to anyone. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to me.
I just don't understand. I agree with you. You just said it. I don't understand why people.
Can I just say this? Even if I hated the commissioner of my sport,
right,
I would still understand that he's the commissioner of my sport. And whether I was a high-paid guy or just a minimum salary guy, I don't know that I'd be dropping expletives on the commissioner in his presence, to his face. I don't know. Something just seems inherently wrong there. Maybe right. I'm the one that's nuts these days.
Look, I know all the words. I've heard all the words. Sorry, Mom, but I've said all the words. Okay. But there's a time and a place, and there are targets that are, if you're on a golf course and you're screwing around with your fellow cartmate, go on, lay it on him, or maybe her, but lay it on him as much as you want. Have fun. I kind of get that. I get that in the locker room. I get it, et cetera, et cetera. But how dare Bryce Harper using that time and that message and saying it in the way he said it? I think he should be, well, I don't want to get crazy here, but I think he should be ashamed of himself. I don't think that's any way to talk to anybody, certainly not the commissioner. And you can make your displeasure known and how you disagree, but you don't have to say that to somebody.
Correct.
If you're here with a salary cap, get the F out of here. What? I don't care how good a player you are. I don't care, and he's a very good player. I don't think you have a right to be discourteous. I don't care if you're a coach, whether it's whoever it is, whether you're a player, because you're talented at anything, why does that give you a right to be discourteous to anybody? I don't get that. It's a personal beef of mine, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Bryce Harper was out of line. If that's the question, he was out of line.
All right, fair enough. I think he was out of line too, just by what he said, not maybe by what his intentions were.
Sure.
But there's, again, a time and a place and so on and so forth. Well, we should turn on the Family Feud music, I guess, here. Because this continues, and it seems like it's on the stage more and more. Here's some happy times, dare I say, between Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. But these are not happy times these days. Parsons has now put out a statement that he wants to be traded. Jerry Jones has fired back that him and Micah had some kind of agreement months ago. And, it's like the agents, I'm paraphrasing here, screwing everything up. And what do we want to work with the agent for? I prefer to work directly with the player kind of thing. So Jerry kind of has an old school point of view. Right. Today or the day, a couple of days ago, Jerry went after, used as an analogy, his negotiations with Des Bryant a number of years ago, who was using Jay-Z's management company, Rock Nation, and said that, basically the tough time that he had dealing with those guys. And that's part of, I suppose, why Jerry doesn't like dealing with these agents. This thing's getting ugly. I still, at this point, but believe that Parsons will stay with the Cowboys and Jerry will eventually come to his senses and pay him. But this is getting pretty nasty right now. And it's, it's getting dangerously close to, could this guy really, truly actually get traded if he becomes this unhappy about it?
I don't want to be dismissive of you or this topic. I don't. Mm-hmm. But last week we talked somewhat about this. Mm-hmm. And at that point, and nothing's changed in my world.
Nothing's really changed other than more words have been spoken.
Yeah, in my world, nothing's changed in this last week. That, again, round figures, and I don't have the figures. I think Micah Parsons has been offered something like 30 some odd million a year. Mm-hmm. And I think he wants something like 45 million a year. Mm-hmm. And now people are tossing back, the insults and so on. And there are media people like Stephen A. Smith who says, pay the man. In my world, and I'm not a ham and egger in this regard, in my world, $35 million a year, no matter what your job is a pretty fair amount of money. And so for you, or Stephen A. Smith, or the fans of the Dallas Cowboys or whomever, say, pay the man. What happened? Have I been Rip Van Winkle and I'm just waking up that 35 million is not paying the man? So I don't, again, the graveyard is filled with indispensable people. Micah Parsons is going to come and go. Someday he's not going to be there anymore, and the Cowboys are going to play on, and the NFL is going to play on. I don't know. I don't have the open books in front of me. I don't know this, that, or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But if Micah Parsons doesn't want to play football for $35 million, and somebody wants him, and you can get what you think is fair value in terms of talent, let him go. I'd trade him too. I mean, a lot of really good Cowboys players have played in Dallas and no longer play. They're either old or dead or both, right? And somehow the Cowboys are still in the league and still drawing and still going on. The Yankees have won quite a few games without Babe Ruth. Micah, you don't like $35 million a year or whatever the number is? I don't feel that I have to pay you $45 just because you want it, or the fans are breathing down my neck. That's spoken, by the way, by a fellow who does not have access to the books of the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've never understood is why certain media members and certainly fans somehow have a complaint that owners aren't supposed to make any money. They're the ones who made the investment. They're the ones who pay the bills. Why can't owners make their money too? And somebody said, well, they make a lot of money. They're the owners. That's their quote unquote right. That's their expectation. And all the athletes seem to be making money. The only people who are getting screwed in this situation are the fans.
Right.
We're the ones paying for all this nonsense. And you, I say this respectfully, are asking me to take sides. I can't take a side here. When you start looking out for the fans and what the fans have to pay, then maybe I'll have some sympathies to one side or the other. But right now, if a $35 million a year athlete says, I'm not paying for those wages, you're insulting me, I shut it down. I can't live in that. I don't know how to live in that world.
Yeah. All right, let's go to a local topic here, Bud,
right.
And that is a piece that came out in your old publication, Syracuse.com, the Post-Standard, written by Mike Waters and Chris Carlson. We had Chris on the show last week and kind of broke down the piece. Mike was unavailable, or he would have joined Chris as well. But it's all about Syracuse University and their falling out with Adam Weitzman, one of your town mates, dare I say. Not only does Weitzman live in your little burg of Skaneateles and probably has maybe the most famous house in the town in the most pristine location that could possibly be, maybe the swankiest joint, as they say, in town for the scrap metal giant, but also the former coach, Jim Boeheim, who forged a seemingly rather fond friendship with Weitzman and continues that friendship even in retirement. So I'm just wondering, since you live down in that little burg where those two guys are you hearing anything, in the restaurants, on any of those bar stools, in any of those, nooks and crannies down in your town of Skaneateles about this piece that came out and Weitzman's falling out with Syracuse?
Well, first of all, congratulations to you to having Chris on your show. Chris is a very, very talented guy.
Like Chris.
And Mike Waters, very talented guy. To be totally, completely, almost embarrassingly honest with you, I have not read that story.
I know you've not read it all. I know you've talked to some people about it.
Yeah, I heard about the story. My wife read the story.
It's good to know that she keeps up on sports.
There you go.
In her retirement or reimaginement, excuse me.
But I know the bones of the story. And there's nothing that's really changed, I don't think, over the arc of this falling out. You know what I mean? The falling out happened some time ago, and it's still in
about 2 years
in a fractured position right now. And whether it'll mend entirely or not, I don't know. But bottom line, as I understand it, is that Adam is not persona non grata, but has been knocked down a peg or two.
Mm-hmm.
And as I understand it, he's not too happy with that. And now we get into he said, she said. How much money has he given? How much did he pledge to give? How much? And again, in a lesser way from the Cowboys situation, we're talking about money. And it's a shame that we're not talking about on the college level. And again, I know I'm going to sound like I just landed in a spaceship and I don't know anything about current America. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand why we're not talking about these people anymore at all as student athletes. We're not even talking them now about as they're athletes. We're talking about them as paid, dare I say, mercenaries. They're mercenaries. They are, because if you don't pay me what I now am entitled to, I'll go across the street, play for another school. So I'm going to get to your question, I think. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me I am discouraged, dare I say, even saddened by what's happened so quickly to collegiate sports. And to weigh in on what this massive entity called Syracuse University and this very rich guy living on the shores of Skaneateles Lake, that they're having a falling out over money, over some level of power, and that's a subject, and the subject should be about whatever happened to the student athlete, whatever happened to a school being loyal to a player and a player being loyal to a school, whatever happened to building a program as opposed to building a team every year. There are no programs anymore, Jimmy boy. These are teams that are built from scratch virtually every year. Programs, that's a word that should be retired. There are no programs now. There are teams.
That's a good point.
This is all, the conferences are all screwed up. Right? Geography doesn't matter. History doesn't matter. Tradition doesn't matter. Protocols don't matter. Education does not matter. We're talking about salaries. We're talking about salary
agency.
I'm sorry?
Free agency. You might as well say the transfer portal is free agency. I mean,
this really is pro sports. This is professional sports. Don't talk about student athletes. That doesn't. Now, are there some people who are student athletes? Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I understand that there are some people out there who still go to school. Some people who are in school to go to school. But who we're talking about and who the important people are the people who are in the school to play football or basketball.
Yeah.
Who are in the school for this year, but we don't know where they'll be next year. If maybe I'm in the minority, but that saddens me and it has turned me off. The college sports universe, as I see it today, is nothing that I really can embrace. Doesn't mean we won't talk about it. I'm not saying I won't talk about it.
Yes.
But I'm saddened that what has happened is happening. And this Weitzman versus SU versus Weitzman is just a tentacle of what I've been just talking about. I mean, look at him there. Is he supposed? What about how am I supposed to feel about this guy? I think he's a billionaire. Okay, I think. Mm-hmm. If not, he's very, very rich, and his feelings are hurt, or he's been rejected, or whatever. How can I feel sorry for the university, which is charging tremendous amounts of money for tickets, and to buy a ticket, they're demanding of you. Well, here's the ticket price. Now, here's the donation that you must give on top of the ticket price.
Right.
So I just have a hard time understanding who I should be for here. The university and the programs, or Adam Weitzman, who's the disrespected billionaire. I mean, Come on. I don't get it. And this says, I've met him.
This is kind of like Micah Jerry all over again. Whose side are you on, Bud? Is it the owners or the players? Is it the schools or is it the billionaire?
And I'm not saying that he would ever remember me, but I've because I've been out a while now. But I've met the guy. I don't have a problem with the guy. I don't know him enough to have a problem with him. And the university is only doing what every other university is doing. That is, pillaging the fan and paying stupid amounts of money to athletes and coaches. So I don't think any of that's cool. So therefore, I'm not going to say it pox upon both houses. It's cliche and it's a little farther than I want to go. But I would ask, why would I take a side? Why would I care about SU in this instance or Adam Weitzman in this instance?
Do you want to see the fence mended here? There are a lot of fans that are upset that this isn't where it should be. Tom Brady's not coming to games anymore. Haven't seen Jimmy Fallon around lately. No Giannis sitting courtside. I mean, there was kind of a cool quotient there, and Weitzman was the guy who was creating it. This is a guy with 17 million Instagram followers. That, by the way, Carmelo Anthony only has 8, okay, Bud? And he's basically, as we know, a pretty big celebrity these days. So that just kind of puts it, in perspective. Not only is Adam Weitzman a near billionaire or a billionaire or somewhere in that realm anyway, an extraordinarily rich person, as you mentioned, but he's also a social media diva in a lot of ways. So much so that he has, more than twice as many followers on Instagram than Carmelo Anthony does. Like, how does that happen to a scrap metal guy? Yet here we sit looking at him as a social media superstar, an influencer, as we call it these days.
I think at the front of it, and again, I'm not being a wise guy. I think at the front end of it, I think you said, asked something along the lines of, do you hope or do you think or whatever that this rip
should be mended? Yes.
Yeah, should it be mended?
Carmelo Anthony, by the way, is trying to, somehow play diplomat in this thing to some degree.
And again, until there's some serious realignment, mental, social, philosophical, until there's a serious philosophical realignment with the mission of a university and how athletics should be part of the mission of the university and vice versa, until that is prioritized, and it never will be, I don't give a fig about whether this fence is mended or not. Because the bigger issue is one that nobody wants to talk about and nobody's acting upon. And that is, again, what is the mission of this university and where do sports fit into that mission?
Yeah.
And if I'm old-fashioned, fine, I'm old-fashioned. If I'm not being practical about, oh, come on now, this is the way it is, then I'm impractical. But please don't ask an impractical old-timer to care about something that I can't wrap my arms around.
When we talked to Chris Carlson about this piece, one of the things that I mentioned, and I just would love your take on this, is kind of the ivory tower mentality, oftentimes, of Syracuse University. I'll point it directly in one person's way, although I think it is a widespread problem that they've had for many, many years, going back to the time when I attended the university. Kent Severud and his kind of, I'm not saying the guy isn't out at events, because I'm sure, when they're having these big benefits and when funds are being raised, Kent is probably there, circling one of the tables. But he's not on radio shows. He's not on television all that much. He doesn't seem to really want anything to do with the spotlight. And I find that kind of odd, considering he is the big cheese, the top dog at Syracuse University. And as you know, in this town, in Syracuse, New York, I mean, they are the biggest employer. They are the king in a lot of ways, and shouldn't, the king of the king, so to speak, be, dare I say, as you always say, dealing or mingling with the great unwashed. This guy does not mingle with the great unwashed, but is that wrong?
Yes.
I guess I'm asking that. Is that wrong?
Is it wrong?
I'm asking you. I'm asking a tough question here. It's not an easy question to answer.
Because if he's otherwise preoccupied with, again, the mission of the entity that is Syracuse University, and he's basically said, I'm giving sports the attention that a person in my position should give it. That is not as much as Jim Lerch wants me.
Yes, right.
Then if that's a conscious decision, look, I got to worry about educating young people and making them ready to take on the massive problems in this country and this world. So I don't really care how I care, because I need to care about the bottom line. But no, I my thing here is I'm trying to save the world save part of the world through our graduates. And I want to make sure we're spitting out educated, ethical people who can help solve problems. And whether football, basketball, lacrosse, whatever, does good or bad with mercenaries, coached by overpaid coaches at the expense of the poor fan. I don't want to do that, says the chancellor. Mm-hmm. And if that's why he's doing what he's not doing to satisfy you and others, mm-hmm. then I don't know if I have a problem with it. But if he's just doing it because, he's there, period. I can't finish the sentence because I think I've said what I need to say.
All right, last thing here on Weitzman. I'll let you go on this one.
Sure.
So, all right, I asked you, should the fence be mended? Okay, you just whatever. You don't care. You don't seem to care one way or the other. Okay, so is Syracuse University sports better off with Adam Weitzman involved or not? My next tough question for you.
Well, that's not too tough a question because of the way sports has been allowed to evolve, college sports, which, by the way, again, is professional sports. It's not college sports anymore. It's bad professional sports, terrible professional sports. Because, again, the best team in football would go 0-17 against an NFL schedule. Mm-hmm. The best team in basketball would go 0-82 against an NBA schedule. So these are bad professional teams. But nevertheless, the people are buying bad pro basketball and pro football in droves, and there's many billions of dollars involved, blah, 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 because there's so much money involved. And because the only way you'll thrive is by, again, paying athletes crazy money, paying coaches crazy money, taking as much money as you can from the fans. Every dollar you can squeeze from the fan is a great dollar to have in your pocket. Because of all that, yeah, I think they're better off with Weitzman. Why? Because he's got money. It's so crass to me. It's so beyond the realm of why the university was founded so many years ago. And I'm saying all universities now, not just SU. I don't care. Throw the dart wherever it lands. There's a college in that town, and that college is there to educate young people. Yeah. It's not there to service a tiny, tiny, tiny little fraction of the student body that happens to be pretty good at shooting a basketball or throwing a football. There's something warped here. So, but it's a warped world we're in, and therefore Adam Weitzman needs to be in that warped world to help SU survive in the warped world of contemporary bad professional sports played by college teams.
All right. Well, as they say, Bud, it's been a peach. Always good.
I got a trivia question for you.
Okay, trivia question for me. I love it. Let's end it on that.
See if you can even name some of these people. Okay. All right. There are 28 Major League Baseball players who have hit 500 home runs in their career. 28 of them.
All right.
Of the 28, six of them never had a season in which they struck out more than 100 times. Okay?
Wow.
There's 28 500 homer guys. 6 of the 28 never, ever, 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 ever had a 100 strikeout season. And today, there will be, I don't know, hundreds, 100 and more people in that league, in those leagues, who will strike out 100 times. So there's 6. Can you name any of them? Can you name any of the 6?
I'd be willing to bet that Babe Ruth is one of them. Am I right about that?
Babe Ruth is one of them.
All right, so I got one. Okay.
I mean, think of that. At one time, one of the greatest home run hitter of all time never struck out 100 times in a year.
Yep. It's not shocking to me. This may be a reach, but I know that certainly in his latter years, post-steroid, Barry Bonds was never striking out. So is Bonds one of those 6?
He is not.
He's not. I could figure earlier in his career that perhaps he did have 100 strikeouts, and certainly it's more in the era of that world. Okay.
There are 2 that really surprised me.
2 that
and the other 4 are Ruth-like, where you say, okay, that's that was a great player who happened not to strike out. All right. Anyway, here we go.
A-Rod?
So, in no particular order, because I don't have
Willie Mays has got to be. Willie Mays has got to be one of them. Yes?
You would be wrong. No
Willie Mays. How about A-Rod?
No
A-Rod either. Okay. Let me throw a couple more guesses before you tell me. I'll try and rapid fire it a little bit.
Well, one of them is a no-brainer, but you're not thinking there, so you may not know it.
I mean, it's only 28 guys. I mean,
so 6.
How about Aaron?
Aaron is one of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Aaron. Okay. So that's 2. I got two. Not Willie Mays. Was there any other?
But Aaron is not the no-brainer.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you just wish you had the whole list in front of you, and then at least I had the list of the 28, and I bet you I'd have a better chance of plucking the 6. But I don't. Go ahead. Who are the others? There's 4 others.
The other 2, the no-brainer is Ted Williams.
Ted Williams, for sure. Yep.
So he's a no-brainer.
Definitely should have gotten that.
And the other old-timer who you never would have thought about is Mel Ott. I never would have thought about.
Okay, I never would have come up with Mel Ott, but okay.
But the 2 that are surprises, because they're relatively modern and they're relatively in that era now, where striking out, who cares? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about making contact. It's all about hitting home runs. I know I sound like an old-timer, but it's true. Back in the day, if you struck out, there was some embarrassment to it. There's no embarrassment to the strikeouts.
Not Manny, right? Manny Rodriguez?
No.
Okay.
But these 2 guys are, one of them is Albert Pujols.
Pujols, okay.
Which is a little surprising to me. But
that is surprising to me also.
The other one here that really surprises me, and maybe it shows my ignorance, that why you're surprised, Gary Sheffield.
Wow. That's
Look at the swing. Think of the swing he had.
Big swing, right? Yeah.
And he never struck out 100
seemingly
times.
Swinging for the fences, like leaving that mark on his shoulder, right? Like
he had the quickest bat, like maybe, maybe, who knows how quick, but
had a quick bat.
He had one of the quickest bats you'll ever see, which means that, I don't know what it means. It means that he didn't strike out 100 times in any one season, which is pretty cool with those homers and that swing.
That's pretty remarkable. That is remarkable. Right, good one, Bud. Good one. You stumped me pretty good there.
Not bad. Not bad.
And I think if I had the list of 20, like I said, if I had the list of 28 in front of me, I don't think I plucked Sheffield off that list.
No, you wouldn't. No.
And I don't think I plucked Pujols off that list. I think I would have picked other guys.
No, so I wouldn't have either, but you would have picked Ted Williams.
I'm going to take a look at that list later, and I want to see who I would have plucked if I were guessing.
Yeah.
And
but
thought,
Williams,
that could be possible.
Some would say he was the greatest hitter of all time. Some would say he had the greatest batting eye of all time. So it only stands to reason that he wouldn't have struck out. Now, if DiMaggio had hit 500 home runs.
Yeah, I was going to even ask it, but I know he doesn't.
He definitely would.
He'd be 100% on that.
DiMaggio, like we pointed out a few shows
ago. Is he in the 400? How many home runs does DiMaggio have? In the 400 and something? I think he's in the 400.
I think it's the 3s, I think.
Maybe
he didn't play that well.
All right. I'll look it up really quick right now. Joe
DiMaggio. We can look that up. But while you're looking that up, again, he had a year where he hit, 38 home runs and struck out 16 times or something.
361 is the number. 361. Okay.
And you have his year by year?
Well, I just Googled, homers for him. So
but those who want to look it up, you'll find that he had a year where he hit high 30s, I believe. I don't think it was in the 40s. High 30s. And
all right, I have it in front of me now. What do you want to know?
All right, find that year where he hit something like 37 homers and struck out like 17 times. Something like that.
Okay, let's see where the strikeouts are over there. So, okay. This year he hit 39. Okay, this year he hit 39 and struck out 30 times.
That's good. But I think he had a better one than that.
There was a season that he hit 30 and struck out 13 times.
There you go.
That was 1941.
Can I tell you something? There are people who will strike out literally 13 times in a weekend series. There will be. Like, okay, the guy who's going to win the MVP this year in the American League because of Judge's injury is going to be Cal Raleigh in Seattle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Over the weekend, he went 0 for 5 in one game against Texas. 0 for 5, 5 strikeouts.
Yeah.
Now, he's still going to be the MVP, and he's still a great hitter and all that, blah, blah, blah. But in the old days, sorry, folks, you could be a great hitter and not strike out 5 times in the game.
Yes, you could.
So DiMaggio struck out 13 times this season, and there'll be people who strike out 13 times, if not in a weekend series, then in a week. No question, in a week.
Yeah,
in a week, 13 times. He did it in a season.
That is insanity.
Totally nuts. Totally nuts.
All right, Bud. As always, entertaining, engaging. Always love chatting with you, and we will chat with you again next week. Thanks for the time,
I'll be
buddy.
back next week.
And again, today's broadcast, I should say, brought to you by our friends at Cam's Pizzeria, where it is always love at first slice.